Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Back at home by myself. Baruch Hashem, we have Gary with us. Baruch Hashem. All right, today's shir is being sponsored for the Hatzlacha today of Mishpachas Dauber. Tremendous Hatzlacha. Today's shir is being sponsored by Nachum Harvitz. L'zeicha Nishmas, his mother, Tzipora Shprinza Bas Yaakov Shrag. If you remember, Nachum flew in for the siyum of Meseches Brachas from Baltimore. He's good friends with Fischel. Sponsored by Simcha Leib. So, Tzipora Shprinza Bas Yaakov Shrag, and if there's 9 of Tammuz this year, this month, Tovshin Pei. Sponsored by Simcha Leib Steinberg for his wife's grandfather's first yahrzeit, Chaim ben Doiv Ber. The Sham should have an aliyah. Sponsored by Mark Bernstein, L'zeicha Nishmas Leo Bas Tzvi Zichrono Levracha. All the Sham should have an aliyah. Beautiful. All right. A couple quick emails. This one is from Moshe Yidel Shimon from Tzvat. I joined after reading the write-up on Fischel. A lot of mentions today, Fischel. So you see, even the Mishpacha article from Fischel actually brought some viewers. Gewaldig. Hey, anything. My mother lived in Baltimore. I'm referring to the Mishpacha magazine article on Fischel a couple of weeks ago. I heard official, I go visit her, she passed away a couple years ago, and I feel it was a calling from up high. Her yahrzeit is this week, Chafei Tammuz. I started the cycle on my own, yet was constantly searching for a shir that's clear, exciting, and not too long. You fill it all, and then some. I can't thank you enough. We moved to Tzvat 4 years ago from Monsey, and I would love to be MDY's extension here in Tzvat. Sincerely, Moshe Yidel Shimon. Yishkoyach. So we're looking for different people. You're not going to believe this. Over 100 and I think it's close, 140 people already responded in the last 48 hours about the siyum on Masechet Shabbos. We have a ton of. We have a guy in Sweden that's hosting. And now we have Tzvat. P.S. I heard you're asking your listeners for ideas how to get MDY out there to people. I have some ideas. Who should I contact? Yosef, Gary. I don't know. Contact. Moshe Yidel Shimon. Let's hear his ideas. Maybe you did already. Next one and last one. Pinchas Yagid from Mars Hill, Maine. Another interesting place. Kvod Rav, I and many others in my family are tremendously inspired by your wonderful shiurim. We always listen to your 8-minute daf, and from time to time we set aside special time for the 45-minute daf. It's 47 these days. Your shiurim are spectacular, and you are being marvelous in Klal Yisrael all over the world, even to some of the most unheard of corners of the world. I think he's referring to himself. Mars Hill, Maine. Hagish Baruch Hu should keep giving you koyach to continue avodas hakodesh lahagdil toyu lahadira. So they have some yeshivish guys out in Mars Hill, Maine, unless he's there for camp or something. And this finally is a picture from the B&H warehouse from our good Yedid Yisrael Goldstein. Learning, look at this. Instead of having the orders of B&H here, what does he have on the screen? Gemara. Excuse me. Simon, yeah, we're going to take care of this thing. All right, so today's Daf Kuf Lamed Beis. And it's actually the gematria of my name. If you do a chaf instead of a kuf, whatever. 52, Elio, Chulu. Okay, Behema, Kelev. Says the Gemara. We're in the middle of a beautiful sugya of machshiri mitzvah. I for some reason, Noam Fix is always in the center of my screen. I don't know why. He always gets on at the same exact time of the day. He's in the center, and I see his little remarks. He's like this. Okay, you just called yourself a dog. Fine, whatever. I hear. That's not what you're saying, but it had some sort of. We're just talking about the sugya of machshiri mitzvah. We're allowed to be mechal Shabbos to perform a bris mila. Can you perform?
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. So self-deprecating.
But whatever. Okay, fine. Hey, I'm like the sa'ira. I'm like in the barley in the tzoya. That's what we are today. Kelev, alavai kelev. Says the Gemara like this. What about the preliminary melachas to get to bris mila, to make a fire, to cut a tree? Rebbe Eliezer says you're allowed to be machal Shabbos for the preliminary. Chacham and Rebbe Kiva and the Mishnah say no. And now we got to talk about mila itself. Yesterday we spoke about sukkah, matzah, shofar, lulav, the shtei alechem, the omer. All those are things that you're allowed to be machal Shabbos for. What are the two things that you cannot be machal Shabbos for? Anybody remembers? Tzitzis and mezuzah. Why? Those are the only two, because those are the two things you can be mafkir your nechasim. Fine. 2 lines from the bottom of Kuf Lamed Aleph on base. Mila v'chol machshirei doichenes haShabbos. Rebbe Eliezer says that all you can cut down wood and fire and everything for bris mila. Minna leil Rebbe Eliezer ha. Imekulu gomar kedem. Excuse me. If there is, you want to learn it out from lulav, you can't learn it out from a lulav. You can't learn it out from a sukkah, which is all night. You can't learn it out from matzah, which is for women. You can't learn out. Kids, you can't learn out from all those things like we said yesterday. Void. And another reason. Mala noch shekenim over zmano batla. Daf kuf lamed veis. Beis shekenim over zmano batla. All these things, sukkah, lulav, shofar. If Rosh Hashanah passes by, there's no more shofar. There's no more sukkah. There's no more lulav. There's no more shtei alechem if Shavuos goes by. Masha'enki in bris mila, no matter what, the very last minute of your life, like Dr. Factor will tell you, when we were at that bris of that Russian kid that was 21 years old, he said that he was in the airport and he got a call, the Moyle said this, and a 90-some, I think he was 90, he says, listen, I decided I want to do a bris. So he turns around, misses his flight, goes back, gives this guy, a 90-year-old, crazy. You're mechuyev in a bris until there's no over zmano. So I would think, so what if others not? Because if I cannot perform this mitzvah's lulav today, because Sukkot is almost going to be over, so do it on Shabbos, do it right now, because you're not going to have another chance. But mila, you'll have another chance tomorrow. Do it tomorrow, perhaps. So therefore, I need a pasuk. I can't learn from anybody else because they're all different. They're all batal. Zmana, and they all have different reasons, Nashim, Laila, whatever it is. On the 8th day, no matter what, no matter where, even if it's Shabbos, you give a bris mila. Ask the Gemara, the question that we had yesterday over and over, so once I have a pasuk that tells me that mila is doiches Shabbos for the machshirei mitzvah, for knives and etc., so learn lulav, shofar, and everything else from mila. There's 13 brisim mentioned, the word bris, the concept of bris, in the parsha of Avram Avinu when HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't do bris mila, says bris 13 times. 13 we know is very significant. Bar mitzvah, 13. The shloishes midah shatur and drashot, the rachamim. Bekitzer, 13 is a big number. Says the Gemara, Ad kan li pli rabban alei elo b'machshirei mila. Avo mila gufa. So now we're going to new sugya. What about, okay, now up until now we're talking about machshirei mila, to cut the wood, to make a fire, to make the knife, all the preliminary avodas. But what about mila itself? So we're going to have a number of sources that tell us that mila bizmana, on the 8th day, you're doiches Shabbos. Shloi bizmana not. What about Yontif? Is mila doiche Yontif? Yeah. Loi pli, what about shloi bizmana Yontif? No. Loi pli rabban alei machshir mila. Ava mila gufa divrei hakol doiches Shabbos. Over here, Rabbanan come along and say, you should know, mila pushes off Shabbos. I do bris mila on Shabbos. Min alon, how do I know this? Amar ula. Halacha. So source number 1 is Ula. Ula says it's halacha leMoshe Sinai. That's it. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Shemayim and said, you perform a mila on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, it's impossible. Meisvei, minayin li bikuach nefesh shadoiches haShabbos. Oh. Thank you. That was quick. You were waiting for that. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yitzchak halacha. Thank you. We almost couldn't perform a siyum here. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yitzchak halacha. And Rabbi Yitzchak also agrees to ula. Oh, maybe I go like the aleph. Let's see if the aleph saves me. No, doesn't save me. Just changes the name. V'chein Amar Rabbi Asi. Okay, so halacha. It's halacha Moshe Sinai. Says the Gemara, how could it be halacha Moshe Sinai? How do I know that I could call an ambulance on Shabbos if somebody's dying? Ma mila shel adam doiches Shabbos. Here, mila is on one of the limbs of a person, and nevertheless it pushes off Shabbos. So you could say the mitzvah, you could say it's saving his life, but akoponim, it's one aver, and now I want to save all the avarim. I want to be able to make mitzvahs with all the avarim. Over here, to perform one mitzvah, just a single mitzvah, I could be Mechal Shabbos. So if I save this guy's life, you know how many mitzvahs he's going to do? He's going to put on tefillin, he's going to do. So certainly, I should be able to be doicha Shabbos to save him. That's how some learn.
Why don't we ask mila shekain bris?
Whoa. You came prepared today. What's going on? You stop in general, you're saying. What do you mean? Adarabba. And that's why what? I shouldn't be able to do other mitzvahs. It's more chashuv than all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Everything.
That's why mila I could do on Shabbos. So you can't make a kavachaymer. You can be pirate. You can't learn how they're varying.
It's if milas doicha Shabbos for one mitzvah, for one accomplishment, the whole entire Torah. And you're saying that the whole mila is more chashuv than the whole entire Torah. And what about the fact?
I just don't know.
What about the fact that I could perform a mila myself? I could do it on my son. I could be mekayim the mitzvah's mila itself. I could do other. If I'm alive, I could do many things, including mila. I don't know.
Because it has 13 brisos.
I'm saying when you save a guy's life, he's also going to do 13 brisos on his own son. If he's dead, he can't perform a bris mila on his son. By saving a person, included in all the mitzvahs is the mitzvah of mila. He's going to perform a mitzvah mila on somebody else. He's going to perform it on his son. I'm saying it. If you do one mitzvah, you can do it. Well, I hear whatever to be discussed. So you want to make a kavachaymer all the mitzvahs from mila, but mila pushes off Shabbos because it's halacha Moshe Sinai. But halacha Moshe Sinai is Torah Shebal Peh. It's not in the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "This is what I heard from Hashem." It goes from mouth to mouth, from mouth to ear. It's Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebal Peh. There's no kavachaymer on Torah Shebal Peh. The whole concept of Torah Shebal Peh, the Shloisha Seri Midas of Gzeres Shabbos and everything, obviously Gzeres Shabbos, is all in the Torah, what it says specifically. You cannot do, says Rashi, a kavachaymer on Torah Shebal Peh. So it's your side. You can't take this Mishnah and say, since it says in the Mishnah, Machshiri mitzvah, so therefore, of course, in a different case, you don't do a kavachaymer from Torah Shebal Peh. Says the Gemara, and how do I know this? Vatanya, Amalei Rebbe Lazar, Akiva. Now, why is Rebbe Lazar calling him Akiva? Because Rebbe Akiva was Rebbe Lazar's Talmud. And he says Akiva. Etzem kisa'oira metama halacha. Or Revi is dam kavachaymer. So what's going on here? Rebbe Akiva wanted to make a kavachaymer. He says that if a Metzora touches a body, a dead body, he has to start the whole process over again. He has to shave his head, he has to start counting the count of a Metzora. If he touches a bone the size of a barley, he has to start over. Says Rebbe Akiva, certainly if he touches a cup or blood, that's a revius. What's his big kavachaymer? Kavachaymer because revius is much stronger, revius blood is much stronger than a small piece of barley. Why is that? Because if you're in a room with a revius of dam, you become tummy automatically from the mace, from oil ha-mace. The revius of the blood goes into the entire room, spreads the tumah in the entire room, and a small piece of barley doesn't spread. So you see that blood is more chomer than a piece of barley, a bone the size of a barley. If so, if a Mitzvah touches a cup of blood, he should become tamei. He should become not tamei, but it should undo. Of course, it becomes tamei, but it should undo his whole tzaraz. Yeah.
Fix your shirt.
Oh, who told you that? Yeshua?
Donnie Fine.
Shkoyach, but nobody told me yesterday. Thank you. Appreciate it. Where's my? I don't have my makeup person, and I got nothing. Zero. I'm by myself.
You got a hair in your eye. Little one.
Do really? You're making it up.
Keep going. Keep going.
Shkoyach, Chavi. See here the Kavachomer. This is one of many today. Says Rebbe Lazar Akiva.
By the way, Nachum Horowitz is just getting a kick out of all this. He's back on Zoom.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, I see him with the shtickle beard going on. Nachum, the neshama should have an Eliyah. Hamakim Yenachem Eschem b'seich shar avelet tzir Yerushalayim v'leisasifu l'da v'oid. Hope to see you in Yerushalayim soon. Don't tell me you were in Bet Shemesh by the burial and you didn't come visit. No, you're not allowed to visit. Okay, fine. You weren't here. Fine. Zog the Gemara. Says Rebbe Lazar to Rebbe Kiva, what are you making Kavachaimers? What you're telling me is a Kavachaimer based on Halacha Moshe Sinai. You can't do that. You can't take something that you learned out of Halacha Moshe Sinai and build on it. Says the Gemara, Elom Rebbe Lazar, Asya Ois Ois. Oh. So, here's Shabbos, here's Mila. We have a pasuk, Ki Ois Hi. So the blue word Ois, and it says by Mila, Vihi La Ois, Vahaya La Ois, bris, Ois, Ois, what is that called? A Gzeira Shava. Okay, ask the Gemara, Elama'ato, Tfilin D'chsebem Ois, Litchi Shabbos. You should be able to make a pirat tefillin, which is aser, on Shabbos. I should make it. It says the word Ois. Elo, I'm going away from that Gzeira Shava. Asya bris. Now Rashi says, interesting, because we understand the Gzeira Shava comes from Shemayim. Moshe Rabbeinu brought it. So if Moshe Rabbeinu brought this Gzeira Shava Ois, the Gemara also says, oh no, let's make up a new one. Bris. Says Rashi, yeah, obviously we had a mistake here for now. We're going to go back to it. But what's the Gemara's have? I mean, a little bit of a mistake. There was something got lost over the years, and we thought it's Ois. What we meant to say is bris. Look, I mean, it says bris in the same pasuk. Bris, we're going to be using the same pasuk. It's actually the identical pasuk. V'haya la'ois. But before we're using this la'ois word, and now we're using the bris word. And by Shabbos it says l'doyroisam bris oilam. We say in Kiddush. So bris gzeira shava. Says the Gemara, Gadol d'chsiv by bris. Gadol. What's Gadol? Someone who's 13 years old. He's a Gadol, and he finds himself like a Russian without a bris mila. The Torah says a special pasuk about him. Says you should know, you must do a bris mila, otherwise you chayiv karas. Litchi Shabbos. We know that you don't perform that bris mila on Shabbos. Why not? Because look, you waited 13 years. You wait another day. You're not going to. It's not an emergency for today. You doich a bris when it's bisman on the 8th day, not for a gadol. But according to what you're saying, that if it says the word bris, and it does say the word bris by a gadol as well, so the gadol should push off Shabbos. Ella, says the Gemara, asya doirois. A third one, all the way down here. It says l'doiroisam bris oilam. That's the word doirois, and it says kol zachar l'doiroisechem. Doiroisechem doirois, the same word, same meaning, same idea. Says the Gemara, tzitzis, d'chsiv bei doirois, litchi Shabbos. I should be, what is litchi? The same, and this is how I know that tefillin means to manufacture the tefillin, to make a pair of tefillin, not to wear it, because over here the Gemara is, of course you could wear tzitzis on Shabbos. The Gemara is saying, maybe I can manufacture it, I can put it through a machine and tie it and do, tying a tzitzis is the Issa Deiraisa, right? It's a Kesher Shekayama, Issa Deiraisa. But it should push off Shabbos. That's why I made this chart, really. So you see all three of them in one shot. It's the three words together. Ois, bris, dairais on Shabbos, and Mila says ois, bris, dairais. This is a seriously powerful Gzeira Shava. It's a 3-time Gzeira Shava. stronger than a real typical. I don't remember such a gzeira shava. 3 words from here, 3 words from here. Boom, that's it. I don't know if it's a mufna though. I don't know. Okay, but you have 3 words. Fine. Says the Gemara. And this comes to exclude like tzitzis that only has one thing, or tefillin, or bris of a gadol. They only have 1 word each. A mila bismana has 3 words to Shabbos. All right. So what do we have so far? We have halacha Moshe Sinai, and we have a serious gzeira shava. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan comes along and says, I have another source to tell me that Shabbos pushes off bris mila. Omar kro bayoim. Now, if you remember yesterday, we had Rabbi Lezer learns from the word bayoim that machshirei mitzvah pushes it off. So Rashi right away jumps in and says, Rabbi Yochanan is talking about according to Chachamim. According to Rabbi Lezer, there's psukim in Masechtas Yuma that give Rebbe Lezer's source, according to this. Fine. Bayoim afilu b'Shabbos. So Rabbi Yochanan learns that from a word in the pasuk. It says Bayoim. It doesn't say what day of the week. Any day of the week, Bayoim, you perform a bris mila. Amar Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, Elo me'ato mechusrei kapara dichsubu Bayoim hachanami dedachu Shabbos. What's a mechusrei kippurim? Somebody who's tamei, like a zav and mitzori yeledes. They are tamei. They go to the mikvah, but they don't become tar until they bring a carbon in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, perhaps they should be able to bring this carbon on Shabbos. You should be shech this bird, whatever they bring, a carbon, depending on who they are and what they are. They have to bring a carbon. Should push off Shabbos. And it says bayoim by them. It says Gemara, they don't have extra word that pushes off Shabbos. Their carbon comes during the daytime. Says Gemara, also by bris mila I need the word bayoim. It's not extra. I need to tell you perform a bris only during the day. You cannot perform a bris at night. I have 2 words yom. One to tell me the concept that I do it on Shabbos, and one to tell me the concept I do it during the daytime. Yomim means during the day. So by Mechusar Kippurim, it also has the word bayayim a second time. Says Gemara, Hafagav the Nafkim Yom Tzavoisa Yitzricha. Salgadai Dechamina Hoyel v'Chatz Rachman Alei. You see, the Torah has special compassion for Mechusar Kapara. Somebody who was tamei, let's say Mitzayir tamei, he goes to the mikvah. He has to bring a carbon. La'asuye b'dalus. There's a special idea by these people that they could bring a different carbon if they're poor. If they don't have money, they bring birds instead of bringing a serious carbon, expensive carbon. They could change from a carbon to a bird. And therefore, if they are already in a compassionate kind of thing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has Rahmanas on them. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, it's already different. Why is it different? Since it's different that you could bring a bird, well, to be different that you could go at night. Kamash malon. So Tosfos says that we're talking about one of the shloisha serei midas shatar in the drashot b'hem, a rare one. And then he says, if you look at Tosfos Diramazil Hadri Kuro, he says, "Vali davar sheyatzman klal." The klal is called davar shaya b'klal. V'yatza lidim davar chadash. Anything that was in a category but came out. This comes out and says, listen, you don't have to bring a goat. Don't worry about it. Bring a bird. So it comes out of the klal. Once it comes out of the klal, now it's very different. Right? We say it sometimes in Rabbi Shmuel Omer. Unless the Torah says, go back to where you came from, it's removed. Once it's removed, you can't learn anything from it. So now that we understand this Tosfos, we can understand a little bit more what's going on in the next line. Since it went out of the category, so the Gemara says something really wild. Maybe a Yisrael should be able to perform the shechita, or an Einan, somebody that has a loss in the family and they didn't bury the nifter yet. If he's a kohen and performs the avodah, whatever he performs is possible. But maybe in this case he should be able to perform the avodah. Says the Gemara, Hadri Kra, But by the fact that the Torah says bayoim, this was a havamina. The Torah says bayoim, that by night it's puzzle. I thought to take him out of the category and say, look, he's completely removed these mechusri kapara. Azav zavi yiledim etzayra mechusri kapara. And I thought that they're nebachs. HaKadosh Baruch has rachmanas on them. If they're poor, they bring us a bird. So maybe you should do it at night. But the Torah already tells me not to do it at night. In other words, the Torah says, don't take him out of the category completely. Put him right back where he belongs. So if that's what it is, or we put him back where he belongs, so he's where he belongs. Once he's there where he belongs and you cannot perform the avodah at night, then you could learn other things from him. You see what's going on here? Now Taisus makes a lot of sense. I mean, what Taisus says helps us a lot. We were working with the klal of kol davar shayva klal v'yotza. Anything that was in a category went out. So this went out because I could use a bird. So it's out. And once it's out, you can't learn anything from it. Says the Gemara, no, it went back in. The Torah pushed him back in by saying you cannot do the avodah at night. So now he's back where he belongs. Oh, he's back where he belongs. I can learn stuff out from him. So basically we have 4 drashos. We have bayoim, which we just said. We had the Gzeir Shava, which we said. We have the Halacha Moshe Missinai, which we started off the sugya with Ula. The Gemara pushed it off, but it's a drasha. And now we have a 4th one, Shmini. You perform a bris mila on the 8th day, regardless if it's Shabbos or not. Oh my God, Shmini afilu b'Shabbos. As the Gemara, Shmini mibar le'lemutei shvi. Shmini. Everybody knows you cannot perform a bris mila on the 6th, 7th day. You have to wait until the 8th day. Says the Gemara, Shvi mi ben shmoinas yomim nafka. At the end of the day, I have another pasuk. Mi ben shmoinas yomim nafka. There's another pasuk. Shmoinas yomim. You have to wait until these 8 days. Says the Gemara, v'akadimi b'oilei chad lemuti shvi v'chad lemuti chi. Very, very nice. Who told you that you have to perform a bris milah on the 8th day? It says in the Torah 8th. But maybe what the Torah is trying to tell me is wait until the 8th day. Once 9, 10, 11 comes, it's also great. Similarly, we have a pasuk by a carbon, for instance. You have to wait until a carbon is 7 days old in order to bring it. It doesn't mean you can only bring a carbon when it's 7 days old. It says, so if a carbon is 45 days old, you can also bring it 110 days old also. You have to wait until it's 7 days old. So maybe you have to wait until a baby's 8 days and then perform a bris milah whenever you feel like it on the 9th, 10th, 11th. So I need 2 psukim. One to say don't do it early and one to say don't do it late. Chad lemuti shvi v'chad lemuti chi. Di mechad hava mini shvi hu deloi mati zmani. If it said 1, I'd say early. Maybe 9, 10, 11 is okay. So I have to go back to the limud, forget about shmini. The other word, ubayayim, Rabbi Yochanan's word. Okay? By the way, quick story from Rav Shteiman. Not the most exciting story in the world, but I thought it was interesting. A guy came to Rav Shteiman on Erev Shabbos by Mincha, and he says, my baby is yellow. What should I do? So the doctor, the moil said, don't do a bris milah. So Rav Shimon said, I have a moil that I rely on a lot. Go bring your baby. So he brings the baby, and the moil looks at the baby and says, no, you could do a milah. The problem was there's 5 minutes to shkia. So the guy didn't call his wife, he didn't call anybody. The moil takes out his knife, chop, chop, boom. Milah on the spot. I guess, I don't even know if Rav Shimon was the sandik. No kvater, nothing, zero. On the spot because of this halacha. You just do the milah, bismana, it was the 8th day, and you can't wait until you call all your guests and all of that. You just do the bisman. Says the Gemara, Tanikav Aseder Rabbi Yochanan. Udloiker Rabbi Yaakov. We have a bris that says, just like Rabbi Yochanan, I learned it out from the word bayoy. Shmini yimol afilu b'Shabbos. Now listen, it's important to pay attention to details. Because the Gemara seems like the Gemara is wishy-washy. Maybe it's like this, no, maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like this, maybe like that. But what's going on here is really like a brain teaser. It's a riddle. Why should I be wish-washy? Why should I go this way? Why should I go that way? What do you think? Well, I don't know what to think. So I need to come on to Rava. Rava will explain it beautifully. What is the havamina? What's the maskana? So let's pay attention here. Shmini yimor lafilu b'Shabbos. When it says Shmini, it means every day of the week, even on Shabbos. If you mechal Shabbos, you're not allowed to be mechal Shabbos. Not referring to mila. Talking about everything else in the world. B'sham alachos, if you drive a car. But not if you perform a bris mila, chutz mila. Or maybe perhaps it's talking about a bris mila. So what's this oyenoi? Maybe not, maybe yes. I mean, what's the question? It's going to be very powerful. There's something really strong behind this question. Oyenoi elo afilu mila. Maybe mila should not push off Shabbos. Umani mikayim shmini yimol chutz m'Shabbos. When the Torah says shmini yimol, it means Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but not Shabbos. That's why I need a pasuk. So what's the happy meaning? What's the maskana? Oh, Marava, let me explain to you this brain teaser. What was this happy meaning? And what was this big question? You should perform bris mila on Shabbos. And the general isser to do b'mechal Shabbos, b'shar melachas chutz mila. But mila should push it off. Why? What's the having mean? Mila should push off Shabbos. Nothing else can push off Shabbos, but mila, yes. Now I just want to show you why I like charts. Because if we don't do a chart, it becomes a little confusing here. And the chart is so simple. It's a 4-word chart. Look at this. Tzaras is more powerful. It overrides the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because if I only have kohanim that have tzaras, and a kohen with tzaras cannot perform the avodah, too bad. Nobody brings a korban pesach that year. Nobody brings any korbanos. Finished. Chop off the tzaras. He has a little boo-boo over here. Take a knife, cut it off. Let him perform. Torah says don't take off tzaras. So tzaras is more powerful than avodah. Okay? Step number 1. We're the turning of the Kuf Lamed Beis, sponsored by Fischl from Official Catering. Va'avodah doiches Shabbos. Nevertheless, the performance of avodah in the Beis Hamikdash pushes off Shabbos. Look, we bring korbanos all day long in the Beis Hamikdash. So you see, avodah is more powerful than the Shabbos. Mila doichaisa. Mila pushes off tzaras. So if there's, we're going to have this in the sugya. If there's a tzaras on the bris itself, you take a knife, cut it off, because mila comes before tzaras. Shabbos shenitchas mevnei avodah. Shabbos that's weaker than avodah. And it didn't shtei mila doichaisa. So certainly mila, who's more powerful than tzaras, should push off Shabbos. Right? A little bit confusing. So let me show you this in 4 words, and it makes a whole lot of sense here. Mila is the most powerful one. It overrides tzaras. Tzaras overrides avodah. And avodah overrides Shabbos. If so, mila, which is number 1 powerful, should certainly override number 4. Very simple. Now it's simple. Mamish pashut. Whole bunch of words. I was reading, I got confused. I put it down on paper and I saw it's mamish simple. Mila overrides tzaras because if it's tzaras on his bris mila, chop off. Tzaras overrides avodah because if a guy has tzaras, he does not perform avodah even if it means nobody in Klal Yisrael brings a korban pesach. Avodah pushes off Shabbos because you bring korbanos on Shabbos. So certainly mila, which was off tzaras, which was avodah, should push off Shabbos. Says the Gemara. By the way, we turned the page to official. I just want to say like this. I was thinking as I'm turning the page, but I didn't want to interrupt then because I want to get through the idea. Official is a oimer va'isa. He's a person, a man of action. If you look at the article, he decided I want to feed thousands of people. He goes and feeds thousands of people. He fell in love with the shir, so he takes a plane, a flight with Nachum Horowitz, and they fly to Eretz Yisrael for a siyum. I mean, it's oimer va'isa. How many people do you know like that? Fly to another country in the beginning of Corona. That's when Corona started. They said, your flight might not go back. He's gone. So, tremendous yishkoyach official. Fine. Says the Gemara. Okay, so Rava explained it beautifully. What the Gemara is havamina that mila is stronger than Shabbos. Great, it's a beautiful kavachomer. So if so how did the Gemara get out of it? So then why did the Gemara say, a wish wash? Maybe it's not stronger. Why not? Who told you that tzaras is more powerful than avodah? This whole kavachomer is on the premise that mila is more powerful, overrides tzaras, and tzaras overrides avodah. Who says tzaras overrides avodah? Who told you that? In other words, who told you that tzaras is stronger in terms of a kavachomer? Maybe there's a technical thing here. Dilma Shabbos chamura. Maybe it makes sense that Shabbos is much more powerful than tzaras. Why? Mishum, where am I? No. Dilma Shabbos chamur sheken yesh ba einchem v'azaris harbe. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Shabbos. If you're mechal Shabbos with Eidim, skila. Without Eidim, karis. I mean, come on. Shabbos, all over the Torah. Zachas yom Shabbos, Hazaras. The Torah is full of it. Number one Aveira, right? Shabbos, Avodah Zarah, top of the line. It's chamur. And what are you going to tell me? Umemayid mishum dechamir tzarasi. And you're telling me that I'll prove to you tzarasi is more than Shabbos because you don't even bring a carbon Pesach if somebody has tzaras. Dilma mishum gavrahu deloi chazi. Unbelievable chap. What's going on? You want to take this guy that has tzaras, tell the kohen, listen, you have 10,000 Jews here, hundreds of thousands of Jews with carbon Pesach, and all you kohanim are full of tzaras. So I need you all to cut your tzaras off. But guess what? Even if they cut off the tzaras, they can't do the avodah. You want them to cut off the tzaras on Shabbos. But they can't do it now. Because if somebody has tzaras, he has to go to the mikveh. He has to wait until the night. Anyway. So what's the point of him cutting off the tzaras on Shabbos when he can't do it? So we tell him, don't do it. But not because tzaras is powerful. Because he has to go to the mikveh. It's a side thing, nothing to do. And therefore, when the Torah says, so therefore, mila, you have no raya that mila is more powerful than Shabbos, because Shabbos is actually more powerful than tzaras. This whole thing doesn't go. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 3. There's nothing. That's it. We lost this whole thing collapsed, and therefore mila should not push off Shabbos. If mila doesn't push off Shabbos, so then why does the Torah say shmina yima? You should do a mila on the 8th day, no matter what, even Shabbos, it seems like. Chutz b'Shabbos. Every day of the week, besides Shabbos. And therefore, this whole thing falls apart, and I need Rabbi Yochanan's drashot bayom. So from here I see, Rabbi Yochanan is right. Because Rabbi Yochanan is the one that learned out from the word bayom. Rav Acha learned out from Shmini. Shmini is no good, bayom stands, according to this bris. Just like Raya to Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara is going to do the same kind of exercise again with Rava and explaining what the Havamina and Maskana is. Mila doiches atzaras bein bizmano bein shalei bizmano. Very interesting halacha. That if, let's say, a Russian kid, you should hear these stories. 9 years old. Imagine a 9, 10-year-old. Dr. Factor is telling us crazy stories of kids crying, but they wanted to do it and they want l'kavod Hashem. 9-year-old kid, he has tzaras. So maybe I should wait until the tzaras goes away. Look, he waited 9 years. Why? Who says no? Mila pushes off tzaras, no matter what. Bein bizmano, bein shalei bizmano. Even if the kid is 9 years old. Yom tov eina doicha ela bizmano b'lavad. So again, to perform a bris mila on Yom Tov, on Pesach morning, you only perform a bris mila if the baby is 8 days old. But if the baby was jaundiced and now the baby is 13 days old and it's Pesach morning, you do not perform a bris mila. Just like we don't perform on a Shabbos morning if the baby is more than 8 days old. Minan mili. How do I know this? The Torah Rabbanon yimol b'sar or lasoi. V'avapi sheyesham beheret yakutz. Even though there's a beheret, there's a tzaras, you cut it off. Yimol b'sar or lasoi. Yimal or lasai, it should say. Yimal or lasai. What's this word besar? The flesh of his arla. Arla is arla. To tell us, no matter what, you take off the basar. But the pasuk tells us, be very careful. You have to be careful with tzaras. You take off a tzaras, you're over in a loisasa. That's referring on the hand, on everywhere else, but not on the bris milah. Oh yeah, no, here we go again. So we have a havamina, and now the Gemara says, whoa, oh yeah, no, or maybe not. It sounds like a wish-wash person. Maybe it's like this, no, maybe it's like that. I don't know. Maybe it means you should be very careful with tzaras, even on the bris milah. But the Torah says you should cut it off no matter what. When there's no tzaras. That's why I need the word basar. Let me explain it to you again. Why was the Tana so excited in the beginning, and all of a sudden he got discouraged? Says the Gemara, beautiful. I mean, the Gemara doesn't say it, and Rava sticks it right in. So either Rava got it from his Rabbeim, and they had a Messiah. This is the Pshan of the Gemara, but it's genius. You don't take the things for face value. Yeah, the Torah says you should do a mila even if there's a tzaras. But the Torah says lo isasa. Yeah, so this we had word for word. But mila pushes off tzaras. My time, the asim mikavachoimer. Oh, so I'm not going to make you go through this again. I don't want to torture everybody. Just show you straight out. So over here it's a little simpler. Mila pushes off Shabbos, and Shabbos pushes off tzaras, different than what we said before. Almost like the maskana of the Gemara that Shabbos is more powerful than tzaras. Tzaras is less powerful because, as we said before, it's the gavra that has to go to the mikveh and everything. That's why you can't do it. But in general, Shabbos is much stronger than tzaras. Shabbos has skila, Shabbos has kares, Shabbos has azaras. So, but mila pushes off Shabbos. That we already established. You do a bris mila on Shabbos, and Shabbos is stronger than tzaras. So therefore, mila should certainly push off tzaras. If I have a tzaras on the bris mila, cut it off. Don't worry about ishamer b'neged tzaras. Uma Shabbos chamura, smack in the middle of the daf, in the amud. Uma Shabbos chamura mila doichaisa. Shabbos, which is so chamer, this skila, you get stoned to death. Imagine, a guy's mechal Shabbos. He writes 2 letters, push him off a roof, and throw stones at him. Mila doichaisa. Nevertheless, you could perform a bris mila. Tzaras lekolchkin. Certainly, mila should push off tzaras. Umayoyene kamar. So then, why did the Gemara have charot? It seems to me like a beautiful kavachaymer. Who told you Shabbos is the strong one here? Perhaps Tzaras is. Look, if I go back to this Kavachomer, you see that Tzaras is stronger than Avaida because you cannot perform Avaida. The Gemara before said not like that. Okay, but now we're holding in a Havamin of a brisa. We don't know about what the Gemara said before. Tzaras pushes off Avodah, and Avodah pushes off Shabbos. So you see, Tzaras is stronger. It's higher up in the list than Shabbos. That's why I need the word Besar, even though there's a Tzaras. Okay. Lishnachrina, a whole new pshat. Mila doiches at Tzaras. I'll tell you why Mila pushes off Tzaras. My time, the Osi Aseh v'dochi lo yisaseh. There's a mitzvah to perform a bris mila in naseh, a positive commandment, versus a loisaseh, a negative. Be careful, yishamer. I dare you, I want you to be careful. So that's a loisaseh. So then so why do the Gemara say not? So we have a concept. If you have 2 things standing up against each other and there's no way out of it, you have a tzaras and the bris mila, and you have a mila, the positive overcomes the negative. So then why did the Gemara take it back? If it's 1 against 1, great. Esse against the loisase. But tzaras also has an asay. Look at this pasuk. Hishamer is a loisase, but in the same pasuk, b'negad tzaras, lishmar ma'oid v'la'asois. La'asois is a positive. You should do it. So memela, bris mila will go up against this word v'la'asois because it's an asay versus an asay. 1 against 1, they're 0. They wash each other out, and then you're left with hishamer, with the loisase, and therefore you shouldn't be able to do bris mila on a tzaras. Because it's a loisas and asay versus an asay. The 2 win over the 1. When the Torah says you should perform bris mila, talking about a normal baby, not one with tzaras. So therefore the Torah comes along and says, no, you should do it even with the beharas. Says the Gemara, Teinach Gadol. So we spoke about this Gadol guy, this 13-year-old Russian guy, that there's a special pasuk that tells him, be careful, I'm warning you, if you don't do a bris mila, you're already 13 years old, you're going to get kares if you don't. But over there it says the word basar. And we learn from basar that even if he has tsaras, and if he has shaloi bizmana, chop it off. Katonami, what's a katan? Meaning an 8-day-old baby on the day, ksiv beibasar, special pasuk that tells me a completely different pasuk about bris mila, talks about a baby, b'yom hashmini. Besar beinoni min Allah. But how do I know anybody in between 8 days old? In other words, a 9-day-old baby all the way to 13 years old, that's a beinoni. How do I know that you cut off its aras? I don't have a pasuk for them. I'm sorry, I'm out of psukim. One pasuk is talking about a real gadol. As brisi heifar is talking. Who gets karas? A 9-year-old? No, a 13-year-old. So, and the other pasuk says mefurish b'yom hashmini. So I have everything in between 9 days to 13. How do I know I could take off its aras? Says Gemara, I have to learn. I can't learn from a 8-day-old, and I can't learn now from a gadol. This is another one of the 13 things that turn is drashot. You see that you could do mila and it pushes off tzaras. Anybody that has mila, that's called the tzad shava. Rav Amar. Mila bizmano doicha loitzricha kra. I don't need a pasuk. Oh, I have 2 psukim here. Besar, one by a baby that's 8 days old and one by an adult. If I don't need a pasuk, what is that called? So Tosfos says that im einoyin lekan tneyu inyan lekan. Last line on Tosfos on the page. If I have a pasuk and I don't need it, so I can use it for anything I want. And what am I going to use it for? This baby, this in-between baby that's over 9 days old, from 9 till 13. Says Rava. I don't need for a baby that's 8 days old. Shabbos, that's chomer. Mila pushes it off. Mila pushes off Shabbos, we said already. So Raz like Holchkein. Certainly. So that's the middle kavachomer. This guy right over here. Mila pushes off Shabbos. Shabbos pushes Tzaras. Certainly Mila should push off Tzaras. So I don't need a pasuk. If I don't need a pasuk, the pasuk is completely extra. Let me use it for a beinoni. Omer of Safar l'Rava memaid the Shabbos chamiro duma Tzaras chamiro shikein doiches avoida. So he's going back. Rav Safar is going back to this kavachomer. Who told you that maybe Tzaras is more chomer than Shabbos? Look, it's above avoida, which is above Shabbos. Says the Gemara, the teretz that we had before. If even if I take off the tzaras, he still can't perform the avodah. He has to go to the mikvah, and then the mikvah is the kitzer. He can't do it today. Should we stop here, or should we go 1 minute? Let's go 1 minute. Let's push it. Says Gemara, Amai, v'yoketz b'harto v'yavoid. Let him take off the tzaras and let him do avodah. Oh no, sorry. This is all part of it. It's a good thing I went weiter. Mechusar tefilo. At the end of the day, he's mechusar tefilo. He has to go to the mikvah. So the Gemara just explains what we said. Tenach negoim tmeim negoim tohirim ma'ikel meimar. Ask the Gemara. Very interesting. There's something called a negatar. So Rashi says, boyak, it's a little bit lighter. Or Rashi says, what if the nega is on his entire body? Now listen to this, Rabbi say. I don't understand what's going on here. Pasha, I need a pshat, because in my mind, if a nega is on the entire body and you remove the nega from the entire body, in my mind, this is what it looks like. I mean, how can you take off a nega from an entire body? I don't know. Technically speaking, I don't know how that works. I understand you take off a little piece of skin, it's going to bleed a little bit, but take off all your skin. But that's what Rashi says. If it's on the entire body, then you're tar. And if you're tar, you don't go to the mikvah. And the fact that you can't take it off completely, that shows that tzaras is more chamor. When do I say this concept that asay pushes off loisaseh? Although we said a second ago that it's asay v'loisaseh, but forget that for a second. The idea, when it happens simultaneously, when I take off my tzaras together with the mila, I'm mekayim a mitzvah when I'm doing an avera, but it happens in the same second, same split second. As I cut the arla, I'm taking off tzaras. I'm also mekayim a mitzvah. V'klai, as I put my wool tzitzis of tchelas onto my beged, which is linen, I'm over on shatnez, and I'm mekayim a mitzvah, but it happens simultaneously. You want me kohen to remove my tzaras. Okay, I remove my tzaras. I just zoiver an avera. 2 hours from now, when I get the bleeding to stop and everything, and I get a skin graft, I'm going to go and perform an avodah. Okay, but that's not simultaneously. I'm not shechting a korban as I'm taking off my tzaras. It's 2 steps. It's 1 step removed. So then you don't say the concept of essa doicha lois essa. Have a wonderful geschmack day. Adonai, shema b'kadosh v'chashuv v'isnekol tachanunoi. Yem Adonai, shemo Adonai yavoi. Tuchas lichol leman tivorei. Kisad lekivsonam shel v'recholti. Nafshil Adonai, shemo b'kadosh Amen.
Noam isn't the DM. If everyone wants to fill out the sheet, Noam will let you guys know when the DM will be. You can fill out the sheet just to get it started.
All right, Yishkoach Yeshua.
Thank you, Rebelli. I appreciate you giving us humble. Thank you.
Welcome back. We really missed you.
Thank you.
All right, you should make an aliyah for your mother's neshama by being very, very serious about the shir and bringing more people to an increasing Torah lahadira.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Rebelli.
All right, have a great one. Feel better.
Thank you. Good morning.
Dr. Allen, you're still in Eretz Yisrael?
For another 4 weeks.